In the very heart of Europe lies a land shaped by millennia of human endeavor, a landscape rich with stories etched in stone and steel. This is Germany, a nation whose history is as complex and layered as the ancient forests that still cloak its hills. From the northern seas to the southern Alps, its past is not confined to books, but stands proudly, sometimes solemnly, in the form of magnificent monuments. These structures are far more than mere buildings. They are silent witnesses to the ebb and flow of empires, the birth of ideas that changed the world, and the enduring spirit of its people. These monuments are a vast and varied collection, a timeline stretching back to the very frontiers of the Roman Empire. Through the grandeur of medieval kings and the intellectual ferment of the Enlightenment, to the turbulent conflicts of the 20th century and the joyous moment of modern reunification. Each archway, each spire, each stone tells a part of this epic tale. They are the physical embodiment of ambition, faith, conflict, and reconciliation, reflecting the very soul of a nation that has continually reshaped itself through the centuries. Join me, Adil, on a journey through this remarkable country. We will explore some of Germany's most important historical monuments, delving into their architectural splendor, their profound significance in the grand tapestry of history, and their role in the world today. We will travel from fairy tale castles to the solemn grounds of remembrance, discovering how these incredible sites continue to narrate the long and fascinating story of Germany. Let us begin our exploration. Our journey begins in the vibrant heart of Berlin, before a structure that is perhaps the most recognizable symbol of Germany itself, the Brandenburg Gate. Commissioned by King Frederick William II of Prussia in the late 18th century, it was intended as a grand statement of peace. Its design is a masterpiece of neoclassicism, its 12 Doric columns creating 5 passageways, evoking the monumental gateways of ancient Athens. Upon its crest, the quadriga, a chariot drawn by 4 horses and driven by Victoria, the Roman goddess of victory, gazes out over the city, a powerful emblem of triumph. For much of its existence, however, this gate stood not as a symbol of peace, but of profound division. For decades, it was stranded in the desolate no-man's land of the Berlin Wall, a stark and impassable barrier between East and West, a monument to a world torn apart by the Cold War. The gate, once a place of royal processions, became a backdrop for political tension and heartfelt pleas for freedom. It was a silent, stoic observer of a nation's painful separation, a place where history seemed to have reached a dead end. But history, like a great river, eventually finds a new course. In 1989, as the wall crumbled, the Brandenburg Gate was reborn. Crowds surged through its arches, transforming it overnight from a symbol of division into the ultimate icon of reunification and freedom. Today, it is no longer just a city gate, but a national sanctuary, a place of celebration, remembrance, and hope. It stands as a powerful testament to the resilience of the human spirit and the possibility of overcoming even the deepest of divides. A truly triumphant archway to a united Germany. We now travel south, to the dramatic foothills of the Bavarian Alps, where a dream was spun from stone and mortar. Here, perched precariously on a rugged cliff, is Neuschwanstein Castle. It appears as if conjured from the pages of a fairy tale, a symphony of slender towers, romantic turrets, and fanciful battlements rising against a backdrop of breathtaking natural beauty. This was the vision of King Ludwig II of Bavaria, a monarch who sought refuge from the harsh realities of 19th century politics in a world of myth and fantasy, a personal sanctuary dedicated to the works of the composer Richard Wagner. The castle's architecture is a pinnacle of Romanesque revival, a highly idealized interpretation of medieval chivalry and romance. Inside its chambers are a dazzling, almost overwhelming display of artistry. The Singers' Hall is adorned with frescoes depicting the legends that inspired Wagner's operas, while the throne room, a 2-story marvel of Byzantine style, glitters with gold and mosaics, designed to evoke the mythical Grail Hall from Parsifal. Every detail, from the swan-shaped tap handles to the ornate wood carvings, was meticulously planned to create a complete and immersive fantasy world for the reclusive king. Ludwig himself spent little time here, and the castle was opened to the public shortly after his mysterious death in 1886. Intended as a private retreat, it has ironically become one of the most visited tourist destinations in the world. Its ethereal silhouette inspiring countless imitations, most famously the Sleeping Beauty castle at Disneyland. Neuschwanstein stands as a monument not to a kingdom or a battle, but to the power of imagination, a poignant, beautiful, and slightly mad dream that continues to captivate all who gaze upon it. In the ancient city of Cologne, on the banks of the River Rhine, a colossal structure dominates the skyline, its twin spires reaching for the heavens like a prayer made manifest in stone. This is Cologne Cathedral, or the Kölner Dom, a breathtaking masterpiece of Gothic architecture and a testament to the enduring power of faith and human perseverance. Its construction began in the year 1248, driven by the ambition to create a worthy home for the relics of the three Magi, which had been brought to the city a century earlier. The goal was to build one of the grandest cathedrals in all of Christendom. The scale of this ambition is difficult to comprehend. For centuries, generation after generation of stonemasons, carpenters, and artisans toiled, their lives dedicated to this singular vision. The design is the epitome of High Gothic, with its soaring vaulted ceilings, vast expanses of stained glass that flood the interior with kaleidoscopic light, and a forest of flying buttresses that seem to defy gravity. Yet construction halted in the 16th century, and for over 300 years, the cathedral stood incomplete. A crane from the Middle Ages perched atop its southern tower, a landmark of unfinished dreams. It was not until the 19th century, fueled by a wave of Romanticism and German nationalism, that work resumed with renewed fervour. Finally completed in 1880, it adhered faithfully to the original medieval plans. Miraculously, despite the city around it being flattened by bombing in World War II, the cathedral remained standing, a symbol of resilience in a world torn by conflict. Today, as a UNESCO World Heritage Site, it continues to serve as an active place of worship, drawing millions of pilgrims and tourists who come to marvel at this giant of faith that took over 600 years to complete. We return to Berlin, to a monument of a very different kind. It is not a single building but a remnant, a scar left on the landscape of the city. This is the Berlin Wall. For 28 years, this formidable barrier of concrete, barbed wire, and watchtowers physically and ideologically divided a city, a nation, and the world. It was the Iron Curtain made tangible, a brutalist symbol of oppression that stood as the front line of the Cold War. Its purpose was simple and cruel: to stop citizens of the German Democratic Republic, or East Germany, from fleeing to the West. The wall was more than just a physical barrier, it was a psychological one. The death strip on its eastern side, with its anti-vehicle trenches, beds of nails, and armed guards with orders to shoot, created a zone of fear and paralysis. Families were torn apart, and the vibrant metropolis of Berlin was fractured. Yet, even in the face of such tyranny, the human spirit sought expression. On the western side, the wall became an impromptu canvas for graffiti artists from around the world. Its grey surface covered in vibrant murals, slogans, and messages of protest and hope. After the wall fell in 1989, most of it was quickly demolished, its fragments scattered across the globe as souvenirs of a bygone era. However, a significant section was preserved. This stretch, running along the River Spree, is now known as the East Side Gallery. It is the longest open-air gallery in the world, featuring over 100 murals by artists from across the globe, painted in 1990. These artworks celebrate the newfound freedom, satirize the past, and call for a future of peace and unity. The wall, once a monument to division, has been transformed into a powerful and colourful testament to liberation. Way up high above the town of Eisenach, tucked away in the thick green Thuringian forest, there's a castle that's been super important in German history. This is Wartburg Castle, a really strong building that started being built way back in the 11th century. The way it's built is a cool mix of different times, with its main part showing off the strong and powerful Romanesque style. The castle's thick walls, tough towers, and big palace, which is like the main house, show it started as a strong place for the powerful landgraves of Thuringia. It was a spot for fancy court life and poetry contests in the old days. But the castle is important for more than just being old. It's totally connected to one of the most game-changing people in Western history, Martin Luther. In 1521, after being called a bad guy and kicked out by the Holy Roman Emperor, Luther found safety here thanks to Frederick the Wise. Using the fake name Junker Jorg or Knight George, he lived and worked in a simple room inside the castle walls. It was in this plain room, which was super different from the fancy parts of the castle, that he did something huge. In just 10 weeks, Luther changed the New Testament from its original Greek into German. This was a really big deal. It let regular people read the Bible for the first time, and it also made the German language more standard. This helped start the Protestant Reformation, which totally changed how religion and politics worked in Europe forever. Wartburg Castle is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and it's not just a well-kept old castle. It's a safe place for brave ideas and where big changes started. It's a place where just one act of translating helped create a whole new world. Our journey now takes a solemn and necessary turn to a place that stands as a stark and harrowing reminder of humanity's capacity for cruelty. Just outside the city of Munich lies the Dachau concentration camp memorial site. It was here in March 1933, only weeks after Adolf Hitler became Chancellor, that the Nazi regime established its first concentration camp. Initially intended for political prisoners, Dachau quickly became the model and training ground for the vast and horrific network of camps that would follow, a prototype for the systematic terror of the SS. Over its 12 years of operation, more than 200,000 people from all over Europe were imprisoned here. The infamous words Arbeit macht frei, or work sets you free, still hang over the main gate. A cynical and cruel deception that greeted the countless individuals who passed beneath it into a world of starvation, forced labor, medical experimentation, and summary execution. The camp's original structures, including the barracks, the crematorium, and the guard towers, have been preserved or reconstructed to bear witness to the atrocities committed here. Today, Dachau is a memorial and a place of education. It is a quiet, somber site that commands reflection. Walking through the vast, gravel-covered roll call square, seeing the sparse wooden bunks where prisoners were crammed, and standing before the ovens of the crematorium is a profoundly sobering experience. It exists not as a monument to be admired, but as a lesson to be learned and never forgotten. It serves as a permanent memorial to the victims and a powerful warning to all future generations about the dangers of intolerance, hatred, and indifference. Perched on a hillside overlooking the Neckar River and the charming old town of Heidelberg, we find a structure that is arguably Germany's most famous ruin. Heidelberg Castle is not a single cohesive building, but rather a magnificent collection of structures built and rebuilt over centuries. Its story begins in the 13th century, but it was during the Renaissance that it truly flourished, becoming one of the grandest palaces of its era. The architecture here is a captivating mix, with the stern, defensive walls of its Gothic past standing alongside the ornate and elegant facades of its Renaissance additions. The castle was the residence of the Prince-Electors of the Palatinate, and its varied buildings reflect their changing tastes and ambitions. The Ottheinrich building, for instance, is considered one of the most important German Renaissance structures, its facade adorned with elaborate sculptures of allegorical figures and biblical heroes. Yet, the castle's golden age was brought to a violent end. It was ravaged during the 30 Years' War, and then further destroyed by the French in the late 17th century. And a lightning strike in 1764 sealed its fate, leaving it a burnt-out shell. For a time, the castle's stones were quarried for new buildings in the town below. However, in the 19th century, the German Romantics rediscovered the ruin, seeing in its crumbling ivy-clad walls a sublime beauty and a poignant symbol of the transient nature of human glory. It was celebrated in paintings and poetry, becoming an icon of the Romantic movement. Today, partially restored, it remains in this state of majestic decay, its red sandstone walls glowing in the evening sun, a monument that finds its profound beauty not in its perfection, but in its dramatic and storied imperfection. We travel now to the westernmost city in Germany, Aachen, to a building of immense historical and spiritual weight. This is Aachen Cathedral, a structure whose core, the octagonal Palatine Chapel, is one of the greatest surviving examples of Carolingian architecture. It was commissioned by Charlemagne, the first Holy Roman Emperor, in the late 8th century. He envisioned it as the religious heart of his vast empire, a new Rome in the north. The chapel's design, with its soaring dome and intricate bronze railings, was inspired by the churches of Ravenna and Constantinople, a deliberate fusion of classical and Byzantine styles to create a statement of imperial power. This chapel is more than just an architectural marvel. It is the final resting place of Charlemagne himself. His remains are housed in a magnificent golden shrine, the Karlshrine, a masterpiece of medieval goldsmithing. For 600 years, from 936 to 1531, this cathedral was the church of coronation for 30 German kings and 12 queens. One can almost feel the weight of history here, standing before the simple stone throne on which these rulers sat after their anointing, a direct link back to the legendary emperor who built this sacred space. Over the centuries, the cathedral grew around Charlemagne's original chapel. The most dramatic addition is the magnificent choir hall, a 14th century Gothic masterpiece known as the Glass House of Aachen. Its walls seem to be made almost entirely of towering stained glass windows, some of the largest of the Gothic period, which bathe the interior in an ethereal light. As Germany's first UNESCO World Heritage Site, Aachen Cathedral is a unique architectural hybrid, a place where the imperial ambitions of the Carolingian era meet the soaring faith of the High Middle Ages, all centered around the legacy of one of Europe's most important historical figures. In the heart of Berlin, just a stone's throw from the Brandenburg Gate, stands a building that encapsulates the turbulent political history of modern Germany, the Reichstag. Completed in 1894 to house the imperial diet of the German Empire, its original design was a grand neo-Baroque statement, crowned by a large steel and glass cupola. Its inscription, Dem Deutschen Volke, to the German people, was a declaration of its parliamentary purpose. Yet its history would be anything but stable. The building bore witness to the proclamation of the Weimar Republic in 1918, only to be devastated by a mysterious fire in 1933, an event the Nazis used as a pretext to seize absolute power, effectively ending democracy in Germany. The Reichstag became a hollow shell, a symbol of a silenced parliament. It was further damaged during the Battle of Berlin in 1945, and the iconic photograph of a Soviet soldier raising the red flag over its ruins signaled the final defeat of the Third Reich. During the Cold War, it stood in West Berlin, a silent, damaged sentinel overlooking the wall. Following German reunification, the decision was made to return the seat of government to this historic building. A visionary restoration was undertaken by British architect Norman Foster, who preserved the historic shell while creating a thoroughly modern parliamentary chamber within. Most famously, he replaced the old cupola with a spectacular new glass dome. Today, visitors can ascend a spiral ramp inside this dome, looking down upon the politicians at work below, a powerful architectural metaphor for transparency and the principle that the people are above the government. The Reichstag has been reborn as a potent symbol of a stable, unified and democratic Germany. On the outskirts of Leipzig, a structure of truly colossal proportions rises from the landscape, dominating the skyline with its immense and somber presence. This is the Völkerschlachtdenkmal, the monument to the Battle of the Nations. It was built to commemorate the pivotal Battle of Leipzig in 1813, the largest battle in Europe prior to World War I. Here, a coalition of armies from Russia, Prussia, Austria, and Sweden decisively defeated Napoleon's forces, a turning point in the Napoleonic Wars that heralded the beginning of the end for the French Emperor. The monument itself, inaugurated on the battle's centenary in 1913, is an architectural behemoth. Its style is difficult to categorize, a unique and imposing form of Wilhelminian design that draws on ancient Teutonic and Egyptian influences. Made of concrete and faced with granite, it stands 91 meters tall. At its base, a massive sculpture depicts the Archangel Michael, the patron saint of German soldiers guarding the entrance. The entire structure is designed to convey a sense of overwhelming power, solemnity, and national sacrifice. The interior is just as awe-inspiring and somber. In the crypt, immense statues of masked sentinels, the Totenwachter, stand guard over the symbolic tomb of the more than 100,000 soldiers who fell in the battle. Above this is the Hall of Fame, where 4 colossal statues, each nearly 10 meters high, represent the virtues of the German people: bravery, faith, sacrifice, and fertility. Climbing to the viewing platform at the very top offers a panoramic view of the former battlefield, a peaceful landscape that belies the violent history this massive monument was built to remember. On the banks of the Rhine, in the ancient town of Speyer, stands one of the most important and imposing Romanesque buildings in the world. Speyer Cathedral is a titan of its era, a testament to the power and piety of the Salian dynasty of Holy Roman emperors who began its construction in the 11th century. When it was built, it was the largest church in the Western world, its sheer size and harmonious proportions intended as a clear statement of imperial authority, a rival to the great church of Cluny Abbey, and a challenge to the power of the papacy itself. The cathedral's architecture is the quintessence of the Romanesque style. Its design is characterized by a clear, symmetrical layout, thick, powerful walls, rounded arches, and a distinctive gallery of arches running just below the roofline. 4 imposing towers and 2 domes anchor the structure, creating a silhouette of immense strength and stability. The interior is just as impressive, its long, high nave leading the eye towards the altar, creating a sense of both grandeur and serene order. It was a revolutionary building for its time, being one of the first to be vaulted entirely in stone. Beneath the church lies one of its greatest treasures, the crypt. This vast, groin-vaulted space is the largest Romanesque hall in Europe, and has remained almost entirely unchanged for 1,000 years. It is the final resting place of 8 German emperors and kings, including those of the Salian dynasty who built it, and several of their wives. To walk through this subterranean forest of columns is to walk among the very founders of the Holy Roman Empire. As a UNESCO World Heritage Site, Speyer Cathedral stands as a magnificent monument to imperial ambition and a perfectly preserved masterpiece of Romanesque design. In the city of Dresden, the elegant dome of the Frauenkirche, the Church of Our Lady, once again graces the skyline, a symbol of extraordinary resilience and reconciliation. The original Frauenkirche, completed in 1743, was a masterpiece of Protestant Baroque architecture, a jewel in the crown of a city known as the Florence on the Elbe. Its most distinctive feature was its magnificent stone dome, an unconventional and daring piece of engineering that soared above the city's rooftops, defining its silhouette for 2 centuries. This magnificent church, along with the rest of Dresden's historic centre, was utterly destroyed in the Allied firebombing of February 1945. For 2 days and 2 nights, the church withstood the inferno, its stone glowing red before the heat became too great, and it collapsed into a 42-foot-high pile of rubble. For 50 years during the communist era of East Germany, this heap of blackened stones was left, as it was a haunting and powerful anti-war memorial, its ruins a stark reminder of the horrors of conflict. After the reunification of Germany, a remarkable decision was made: the Frauenkirche would be reborn. An international fundraising effort was launched, and a painstaking process of archaeological reconstruction began. Using original plans and modern computer technology, thousands of the original stones were salvaged from the rubble, cleaned and incorporated into the new structure, appearing as dark patches against the new, lighter sandstone. Completed in 2005, the new Frauenkirche is not just a faithful reconstruction, it is a powerful international symbol of peace and reconciliation, a testament to the idea that even from the deepest ashes of hatred and destruction, beauty and hope can rise again. On a terraced hillside in the city of Potsdam, just outside Berlin, lies a palace that is the very embodiment of Enlightenment ideals. This is Sanssouci, the beloved summer retreat of Frederick the Great, King of Prussia. Its name, from the French sans souci, meaning without a care or without worries, perfectly captures its purpose. This was not a palace designed to project power and intimidate, but a private refuge where the king could escape the formalities of court life and indulge his passion for music, philosophy, and nature. The palace itself is a masterpiece of the Rococo style, a more intimate and graceful evolution of the Baroque. It is a single-story building, its long, slender form stretching along the top of a magnificent terraced vineyard. The yellow facade is adorned with delicate carvings and sculptures of Bacchic figures, celebrating wine and revelry. The interiors are a symphony of elegance and artistry, with rooms like the marble hall and the concert room decorated with exquisite stucco work, gilded details and paintings, all designed to create an atmosphere of light, sophisticated pleasure. Just as important as the palace are its magnificent gardens. Frederick the Great was intimately involved in their design, which blends the formal geometric patterns of a French Baroque garden with the more naturalistic elements of an English landscape park. Dotted with follies, temples, and fountains, the park was an extension of the palace's philosophical ideals, a place for quiet contemplation and conversation. Sans Souci remains a perfectly preserved ensemble of 18th century art and landscape design. A testament to a monarch who sought to create a personal paradise where art and nature could live in perfect harmony. Our journey now takes us back in time nearly 2,000 years to the very edge of the Roman world. The Limes Germanicus was not a single monument, but a vast and ambitious feat of military engineering. The frontier line that separated the Roman provinces of Germania from the unconquered Germanic tribes. Stretching over 550 kilometers from the Rhine to the Danube. It was a complex system of forts, watchtowers, walls, ditches, and palisades. A clear and imposing demarcation of imperial power. For over 150 years, this frontier defined life in the region. It was a military zone, garrisoned by legions and auxiliary troops who patrolled its length, ever watchful for raids. But it was also a porous border, a place of trade, cultural exchange, and gradual Romanization for the peoples living nearby. The architecture was brutally practical. Watchtowers, built of stone or wood, were spaced within sight of one another, allowing signals to be passed rapidly along the line. Larger forts housed entire cohorts of soldiers, complete with barracks, headquarters, and bathhouses. Today, much of the Limes has vanished, its stone walls dismantled and its wooden palisades rotted away. Yet, its traces remain etched upon the German landscape, often visible as faint lines in fields or low earthworks in forests. Archaeological excavations have unearthed the foundations of countless forts and towers, and in some places, sections of the wall and watchtowers have been reconstructed to give visitors a vivid impression of what this formidable barrier once looked like. As part of a larger UNESCO World Heritage Site, the Limes Germanicus stands as a silent testament to the immense ambition and organizational power of the Roman Empire at its zenith. For our final destination, we return to the state of Thuringia, to a wooded hill called the Ettersberg, overlooking the cultured city of Weimar. This beautiful setting holds a dark and terrible secret. This is the site of the Buchenwald concentration camp, established by the Nazis in 1937. Unlike Dachau, it was not initially for political prisoners, but was designated for so-called asocials, criminals, and eventually Jews, Roma, and prisoners of war. Its name, Beechwood, belies the hell that was created here. Over 250,000 people were imprisoned in Buchenwald and its many subcamps. They were subjected to horrific conditions, slave labor in nearby armaments factories, brutal medical experiments, and random acts of torture and murder by the SS guards. The camp's gate bears the cynical motto, Jedem das Sen, which translates to each his own or everyone gets what he deserves. It was a place designed to strip individuals of their humanity before it took their lives. When American troops liberated the camp in April 1945, the world was confronted with an almost unimaginable scene of horror. After the war, the story of Buchenwald did not end. The Soviets used part of the site as a special camp for political opponents. Today, the Buchenwald Memorial preserves the memory of all of its victims. Visitors can see the original gate, the crematorium, and the foundations of the demolished barracks. A separate museum details the camp's history, and a large memorial complex stands outside the former camp perimeter. Like Dachau, Buchenwald is not a place of beauty, but of solemn duty, a duty to remember the depths to which humanity can sink and to remain vigilant against the ideologies that lead there. Our journey through Germany has shown us that its monuments are far more than just stone and steel. They are the living record of a nation's soul, a physical chronicle of its long and evolving identity. In the soaring spires of Cologne Cathedral, we see centuries of unwavering faith. In the romantic ruins of Heidelberg, we feel the transient nature of power and the beauty found in imperfection. And in the chilling silence of Dachau and Buchenwald, we are confronted with the solemn obligation to remember the darkest chapters of the past, so they may never be repeated. These sites narrate a story of profound contrasts, of war and peace, tyranny and freedom, division and unity. The Brandenburg Gate, once a symbol of a world torn in two, now stands as a joyous emblem of reconciliation. The remnants of the Berlin Wall, once a barrier of fear, have been transformed into a vibrant canvas celebrating liberty. From the imperial ambitions of Charlemagne at Aachen to the democratic transparency of the modern Reichstag, these structures are the milestones that mark Germany's complex and often painful, but ultimately hopeful path through history. To truly understand Germany is to walk among these silent witnesses. They offer a connection to the past that is deeper and more resonant than any book can provide. I encourage you to explore these incredible places, to stand in their presence and to listen to the stories they have to tell. For in doing so, you will gain a richer, more profound understanding of this remarkable country's heritage and its enduring impact on the world we all share. Thank you for joining me on this journey.